Welcome to Vox Scream, a Kill Team podcast where we aim to help players of all skill levels supercharge their game and separate the signal from the noise. I'm Mark Meyer, joined by Kill Team heavyweights George Pratt and Joe Gallo. We're coming to you from the Triangle region in North Carolina. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. This week on Vox Scream, George is out with an illness, but we are instead joined by our friend Dae Bigach. She is an excellent painter, and we definitely get into some awesome hobby talk. We had a fun crossover podcast with Just Another Kill Team podcast earlier in the week. We talk about the Cherokee Open and sportsmanship. That was a ton of fun. We've got another fun crossover episode planned with the Vox Cascadia podcast. Keep an ear or an eye out for that later this week. It should be awesome. We haven't recorded it yet, but until then, let's get to our interview with Dae. Dae is something of a figure in our local community. Dae is one of the best painters that we personally know. She's also really good at Kill Team. She has done really well in tournaments locally. She was at Nova. She played pretty well there. You're probably like Games Workshop's like ideal Kill Team fan because you like are so good at the hobby, but it doesn't really like come at a sacrifice of gameplay. So yeah, Dae, welcome.
Yeah.
Happy to have you here.
Absolutely. That was a wonderful intro and far more than I would have given myself, so I'm flattered. Thank you. My name's Dae Bigach. I do paint a lot at the Atomic Community. I've been painting and hobbying for about 2.5, 3 years now. Really set off in full steam about 2 years ago where I set a New Year's resolution for myself. So happy New Year's, everybody. And where I said I just wanted to paint a mini a week. So since then, I've been diving into a bunch of different techniques. Beyond that, though, I do a lot of cosplay and costume design. And then throughout school and some of my education, although I am an engineer, engineering and science people can paint. It's fine. I did a lot of watercolor as a kid and a lot of sculpting and like ceramic work. So a lot of those skills have transferred into this hobby, which is really nice. So I'm starting off not at ground zero.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I'm a musician when I think of like my art background, but I've always really liked the visual arts. Terrible at drawing, cannot draw more than stick figures. You look at like my drawings and they're just awful, but I've always really liked visual art. I did like some acrylic pours in the past and really just kind of thought that was fun to make art. And I really kind of gravitated. Like once I started painting minis, I just realized it was so fun because I could just paint within the lines. I could get creative with it in any way that I wanted. And it just felt so fun and satisfying in a way that like other visual things didn't really do for me in the past. Joe, I mean, you have been painting minis probably for maybe the longest out of all of us.
Maybe. Let's see. Probably started during the pandemic. So probably, and initially it was for 40K, because that was my initial interest in the hobby was I had bought the old Blood Angels Combat Patrol, and I don't know why that was my first step into the hobby, but it's what I did. And I remember painting the Space Marines from that, and I wish to God I had saved one of those to show y'all. But yeah, so I honestly picked it up during the pandemic, learned basically self-taught myself all of it. And it kind of slowly grew over to Kill Team. And now, I'm doing like painting commissions for folks in our community and outside the community even. It's a really nice way for me to just center myself and just relax. And like it's a very peaceful exercise for me until I get frustrated with the model and want to throw it out the window. And because I missed one belt buckle on a thing or the belt buckle is slightly askew, and then I want to crush the model and say I'm bad at painting forever. So it's, I don't know, I would never grew up like artistic and therefore didn't have a single like creative bone in my body outside of like just having what parents love to call like a big imagination or whatever word they would substitute in, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're a creative thinker though. And like you see that in the way that you play the game. You don't have like, you're very nimble in the way that you adapt your game plan and such. So it's not like a surprising stretch to think that somebody like you could be a good painter in that way. And
it's funny. I'll tell you all a story. My family didn't know I did this at all. So I think it was either Thanksgiving or Christmas of this year. I explained it. My father had like knew that I was doing it, but he's not home often. And I finally showed like the models over because they were sitting on a shelf right behind everyone at dinner. And I started showing them around and like everyone's like, oh my God, you do this. This is so amazing. And bear in mind, they were orc models. They were the Rekkas I had just painted.
Oh.
And I was explaining it, and I knew my dad, because my dad thinks this is all silly and nonsense. And I said, "Hey, Dad, you know what they call that?" And he goes, "What?" He goes, they call it the Big Choppa." And he's like, he just starts repeating it back, and I start explaining all the weapons to him.
Good. Oh,
and
good.
he just goes into an absolute like hysteric laughing fit, like on the ground. It was great. Introduce Warhammer to old people. It's very funny.
Oh, my favorite way to explain it to old people, right? Because a lot of my family is quite older than I am, and I'll say, "Hey, you know, like those little tiny like plastic army men like they used to see in movies, like Toy Story." They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Imagine that." Except they're really colorful, and that's what we play with. They're like, okay, I understand.
My favorite question, and one that I always get, is, do you play with them? It's like, yeah.
I just say it's chess. I just basically say I play chess. I play chess with them.
It's a very like easy heuristic to default to. Like I'm like, you know, what was it? George said chess with guns. I think that's a pretty good analogy.
Yeah,
I think about it like 3D chess because it's like very much a your turn, my turn thing, but you are thinking about the game in 3 dimensions. I'm very fortunate to have like really supportive parents, and my dad kind of, you know, will brush it off sometimes when I'm showing him my models, but my mom always gets like super excited. She's like, "Wow, they're so tiny."
Yeah, my mom has always been really supportive of like my art. So like she's always really excited. She's like, "Oh, I don't really understand the rest of it, but I'm glad that you're painting. You're really good at painting." I'm like, "Thanks, Mom."
Well, before we like get too far afield here, I think it might be a good idea to kind of establish what are each of our goals as a painter. I think we're going to cover a lot in this conversation, but this will be helpful for giving context to the listeners and also just in our own discussion. Like, what are we trying to learn from one another? And like, what are you trying to accomplish when you're painting a team?
Yeah. I can go ahead and start. So some of the goals that I have, at least for myself this year, and then goals when I have a team. So for me this year, things I want to work on some more is some NMM. So non-metallic metals right now. I got a bunch of Stormcasts from, I think that's what they're called, Stormcasts. They're from
the
Fantasies.
Sigmar dudes.
Yeah, the Sigmar guys. So I got a bunch of those. There's a couple of tutorials I have. They're all gold, so going to kind of steamroll with those and see how my NMM journey can go. And then outside of that, my airbrush is both my greatest weapon and my greatest weakness. I hate cleaning my airbrush. I love cleaning my brushes. That's really satisfying. My airbrush, I kind of just feel like throwing out of the window. So we're going to have some more patience with that this year. So those are my personal goals for the year. But when I'm painting a actual team, I like to play with color theory. That's one of the most exciting things for me personally. I like to pick out 3 or 4 colors that I really want to have pop. I want to have a couple of really nice transitions. I also want to have just fun with it. Whenever I'm painting a kill team specifically, or just when I'm wanting to paint like any of my D&D models, I'll pick out usually 1 or 2 items I'm trying to work on, whether it's feather blending, whether it's wet blending, whether it's glaze work, whether it's OSL, object source lighting, anything like that. I usually try to pick 1 or 2 things with each of my team, and then most of my teams glow in the dark. I like glowing things. I like to have little secrets in them. So I would say color theory when I'm building a team, a small fun secret, and a skill that I'm actually trying to learn.
Joe, what about you? When you are building a team, going at a new project, what is your goal?
So for me, the first thing I start with any team is like, what's the lore of it? Because it's the reason I play the game, right? So like, for example, we kind of have all our models set up here in the studio of like stuff we want to look at. So like Angels of Death is a great example, right? I mean, Angels of Death is such a flexible team in play, but also just in terms of lore, right? And one of the fun things about like Space Marines is you have non-codex compliant chapters. So not everyone is just yellow and, you know, has a fist on their shoulder, right? So for me, making sure that like either I'm like following the lore as closely as I can. So like, for example, my Dark Angels are all 5th company and they're specifically painted 5th company. And I look for the squad markings that get that. And there's also like a personal touch of it, right? So like, for example, my captain is not a captain. He's an interrogator chaplain, which is a very Dark Angel specific thing. And then my heavy bolter is painted in Deathwing colors, just because I thought that was a fun particular thing to do with that model that also like made sense in lore and thinking about the story behind those models and like each little nick and scar and stuff like that. So like lore is always where I'm at, but also like what like looks best is also a fun, like, you know, particular aspect of me. Like I think of Eldar often because like, you know, like Craft for Wyandon is like this horrific blue and horrifically bright yellow, but it's my favorite craft world, right? So it's like, exactly, right?
I have for those that can't see it right now, I do have one of those Eldar style painted on the table.
BL Tan is another one. They're horrifically dark green and horrifically white. But once again, I like BL Tan. So it's like, I'm more loyal to the lore, but I do like try to avoid certain like paint styles that just annoy me visually. So yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think there's going to be an even better discussion than I had originally thought, because I feel like we're all three coming at it from like a very different kind of perspective.
I like that, honestly. You know, it's very, because I'm coming at it from like a technical paint side. I like your lore side. Also interesting. I didn't know that was some of the reasons that you painted them. So now I can like look at your models and be like, what was his thought process? You can kind of dive into it when looking at your models today. So that'll be neat.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm definitely excited to see like some of your other teams now that I know that and kind of think more about it from the lore perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what about you?
Oh yeah. I mean, like my approach when I'm painting a new team is my number one goal is I have to think it looks cool. At the end of the day, I don't care what anybody else thinks but myself. And so what I'm going for with a lot of my teams is how can I do that? How can I do that in a way that's not like bogging me down? Like I really want to be able to paint teams well, but efficiently. I don't want to get like a new team and then not be able to play it because, you know, I really don't love playing with gray plastic. We all do it. You know, here in the Triangle, we're really like not trying to like gate people behind painted models. We play with gray plastic at, you know, the league and at tournaments all the time. It's not a big deal. But I really like to play with painted models.
Paint your fucking models, please.
I would like to see more people, as attrition can work from work and life can like take more people out of it. But at the same time, like, it's okay. Just throw at least a base coat on there. Like that's a minimum amount of effort.
Yeah.
Like that's totally fine. Like get the rattle can.
You know, like what I was always thinking is like, if I really, when I started it, I wasn't sure if I was going to like the painting.
Yeah.
And I remember
it can be
like,
a lot.
It can be a lot, you know, and there's still times that I get frustrated with it for sure. But I remember that very first model, I primed it black and I dry brushed it. And I was like, this looks great. Like I could just leave it like this and be pretty happy with it.
I'll be honest. I actually just painted up a couple of Blood Angels over the weekend. They're red with some extra highlights on them from just dry brushing. And I'm like, I could go back and paint all of their extra bits, but like sometimes that's just enough. It really depends on your goals in painting. Like a lot of people, there's all different styles. Like you can go into it for competition painting. You can go in it for army painting. So like sometimes dry brushing is just enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that I personally am not a huge, like I like models with really nice edge highlighting. I don't really like doing it. So like myself,
Who does?
Exactly. You know, I think for me, I'm really just trying, again, efficiency, but also like style, right? So like when I'm going for a new team, I really want to pick something cool. Like, you know, what's the color scheme? Pick that out. And then I'm like, you know, just trying to make it easy in the sense where I'm just doing like, you know, airbrushing to get a nice base coat. And then like, I love dry brushing. Like those are my two things. My three favorite things about painting. And I really look forward to these parts when I'm starting a project is airbrushing, dry brushing, and then doing the base. I really like cool bases on models.
Okay. Very nice.
I actually do not own an airbrush and everything I do is hand painted. I know like a lot of people do airbrushing and I probably should learn how to do it, but like I haven't airbrushed a single model in my life.
Honestly, you can get away with a lot of dry brushing can do a lot of the same things that
it's what I do all the time.
airbrushing can do. So like, yeah, it's great to have it as a tool in your kit, but it doesn't need to be like your crutch or anything like that.
Absolutely.
Also, I mentioned a little bit about my New Year's resolution as a painter. What are y'all's New Year's resolutions as painters? Like, what are your goals just long term as painters?
For me, I want to get more commissions and do cool stuff with people. So like,
I didn't know that you did commissions. That's really
I
cool.
do. I think Arthur started offering it in the community, and I was like, I think I could offer it too.
I think we kind of saw with that too, that there was demand for it.
Yeah, there was. A lot of people just don't have the time. I mean, George wants me to do some stuff for him. So.
Okay.
Renowned painter, George Pratt. My New Year's resolutions as a painter is to really kind of solidify my process.
Okay.
My most recent team, I got them painted in a week. And I felt really good about that.
That's wild.
And so what I want to do is get close to that mark with other teams. Like I'm looking at my Felgor, that's the team. I think that was pretty easy because, you know, their goats, it's pretty much all the same color. So I got away with one there, but like, how can I do that with like, you know, Plague Marine, something like that, where it's got a lot of like details on it that I really want to accentuate, but also not like spend a million years doing
Plague
it.
Marines are shockingly easy to paint.
I would agree with that.
Because like in terms of Marine models, you can get away with like dirtying them up and dinging them. And I'm not gonna say cover up, but like do more of like do more techniques in terms of dry brushing.
Yeah, you can use
get
like
away
grim
with.
dark techniques.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll let you get away with those a lot easier on those kinds of models.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also do a lot with Plague Marines and Small Tangent with like various effects, like rust effects and stuff like that. You can do very easily, and it feels so satisfying. Or any kind of like gel effects also work really well with those.
Contrast is
paints.
great for that.
Yeah, they're real easy on those.
Some of the new contrast paints are really, really good with just a simple like zenithal over them and just make them look disgusting. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another, I'd say 2 more New Year's resolutions, kind of just bouncing off things we already talked about. Contrast paint. I've been using it. I like it. I feel like I want to learn a little bit more about it and like maximize what I'm doing with it.
Dude.
Cause like, I think I didn't bring it with me, but my Patriarch, I painted that and I like that model a lot. And I did that all in contrast paint.
Okay.
We'll talk a little bit more because I think
contrast paint, I will say, is something that I typically don't use a lot.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben.
I use a ton of it.
Yeah.
I use a ton of it.
I like it because it's really good. And then a little dry brush on top of it, just really, it slaps.
If you know how to get the flow right on the brush, you will not tell the difference between it and a base paint. And I think that and if you can get that technique, you're going to get stuff painting like especially for me when I do commissions. Scott, for example, I'm doing his original Thousand Suns Marines.
Oh, wow.
And I'm using mostly contrast paint, which people are like, oh, don't do contrast paint on Marines. But for him, I kind of have to because the translucent nature of the paint is how you get that shiny, reflective, like Thousand Suns surface. So I have to use it like that. But doing it in that way, and I was actually looking at the model because I haven't done it all on a lot of Marines, it comes through very well. It comes off like a very nice matte finish if you do it right. And I would love to kind of experiment more with contrast paint on like certain Marine schemes. Just because I think they look neat if you can get them right on like the paneling and stuff like that.
And then you had one more. You had said contrast was another one. You had one last one.
Yeah, I want to put in a little bit of effort to try and get better at edge highlighting.
Okay.
I think largely I've done it a couple times and it's kind of just looked bad. But yeah, I want to just kind of get a little bit more in terms of like just figuring out how to do edge highlighting and do it well.
Okay. Yeah. I think that a lot of those things that you mentioned, we can talk about this more later or now if you want, comes down to like paint consistency and brush control and paint control for edge highlighting. So you'll see a decent amount of I actually really enjoy edge highlighting personally.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a really similar to like dry brushing. To me, edge highlighting is a way to get a lot of like results and like visual pop with very minimal effort.
Absolutely.
But the easiest way to do that is actually to make sure that the medium that you're using for your paint is conducive to edge highlighting, frankly. And then 2, make sure it's the right consistency. It needs to both flow off the brush pretty smoothly, but not have your brush full of paint. Like if you fill up the entire well of your brush for your edge highlighting, you're probably gonna have a bad time. But if you are able to just keep it on the edge and it's both thick enough to actually cling to the edge because, using water's properties to adhere to stuff, you can usually get it done pretty quickly, which makes it very satisfying in my opinion.
That's really interesting, Dae. This kind of leads me to something I was thinking about on the drive over to the studio. What are the range of brushes you use? Not like what brand of brushes do you use, but like what is
Sizes?
the biggest, what are the different sizes you use? What's what are you using the most? What is the smallest brush you use?
So I have a full range of brushes, right? So typically my brushes, I go all the way to 000, because sometimes you got to paint people's on eyes. To size 3 are typically the size brush ranges. So I use the entire range of it. Additionally, it will get really hard. Something that you'll hear frequently with a lot when it comes to brushes is how big the well of the brush is. And that's like the body of the brush, right? How much water can it store before the paint on the tip of the brush actually physically dries out? So while using those really, really small 0, 000, 00 brushes is nice, you'll typically find that between the time of which you go from your wet palette to the model, it's dry and you're fucked. Whereas for size 3, it's really nice, but you have to make sure that your tip is very clean. Make sure your tip is very sharp. If you're going to do those, you can get a ton of detail with larger brushes. So I would actually say the standard brush size that I use is probably actually a 1 or a 2 because I like to have that water in there. What I don't like is constantly having to go back to my wet palette, mix my paint, continue, like get it to the consistency. Once I get it to a nice consistency, I like to keep painting that large surface I'm on and going from there until I need to do any kind of blends or anything like that. So that's typically, but it can change on the type of item that you're working with. If I'm doing any edge highlighting, I'll usually use like a 1 and get away with those. Those are usually my Winsor Newtons. I use a lot of Natural hair brushes. You can use plastic hair brushes. I've just found that they work better for me. They work longer for me. Like if similar to I don't like have to go back to my palette. Those ones like ermine brushes work better for me in that regard. So those are the sizes I use. Those are the types of brushes I tend to use. Natural hair over plastic, but plastic does have its place as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it doesn't seem like too dissimilar from what I use. I feel like I'm using the 1 and the 2 a lot, but then I'll go up to like a 3 or 4 for like some big stuff that I'm really just trying to get done quickly. And then like I've used like the 0 and the 00 as well. I think with like my smallest brushes, I kind of end up just fucking them up really quickly. And so definitely want to talk a little bit about brush care because I think you're a good resource for that. But Joe, what about you? Like what kind of sizes are you using?
I'll be honest, I've never looked at a brush size in my life, and I just eyeball it.
Bro's just naturally talented.
I'm
here for this.
I'm being dead serious. Like I know there are different sizes, but like I so often, and I know I'm bad, I buy GW brushes, and I know I should be getting better ones.
They're fine.
Dude,
Honestly, I started with them. Like they're good.
I buy shitty brushes off Amazon, and frankly,
That's what I usually do too. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you're able to just kind of get results like that, literally just by intuition and feel, is insane.
Yeah, I you can call it vibes, call it whatever. It's actually very honestly, I don't often switch brushes, to be honest. I get a good like vibe for the model and just kind of, I have pretty good hand control, I guess would be the way I would describe it too. So like, I'm even able to get like eye details, like usually lenses. Faces are kind of my bugbear, but like, yeah, I mean, it's just vibes. I know what is aesthetically pleasing to me and most folks, and I just kind of am able to do it. Yeah.
Hell yeah. One last question before I think we get into some actual talking about models, Dave.
Yeah.
You were talking about cleaning your brushes as being a satisfying thing for you. Do you have any like tips on how to do that and do it well? Because I feel like I've destroyed every brush I've had and very quickly.
Fair. All right. So a lot of good brush control, it leads to really well-maintained brushes. And I have a couple other like products that I like to use, right? So first off, when you look at your brush, there's like 3 individual pieces, right? You look at the tip of it, you look at the well of it, and you look at the ferrule of it. I think that's how you pronounce that. The tip is where you usually want to have the paint. You don't really want the paint to go much past the well. The well can have like the water. It's what helps flow. That's your medium. Kind of think of it like the battery for the paint, right? And then you have the ferrule where the brushes actually go in. They're like all locked in, tied into the rest of it. You ruin your brushes most frequently, right? By 2 things: leaving paint on them too long. Or 3 things. Leaving paint on them too long, so around each individual bristle of the brush, you get this like wall of paint.
Yeah.
Basically, it comes off in shards and it sheds like.
You know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Yep. You have some on the tip, or you put it in water and you crush the tip. And that point, you basically break some of the fibers there and they're not as consistent, or you get paint in your ferrule, which is there's paint all around the top, bottom rim of it, and it no longer holds that really nice fine tip. Right. So the ways that I found that's been really helpful for me is 1, managing how much paint is in my brush and how often I change my water and how often I'm cleaning it. Right. If you look at my hand actually right now, you'll see that I frequently try to make sure that I get too much excess water, or when the paint starts to creep up too much of the brush, I try to get some of it off because it'll sneak up into that bottom part, dry, and get stuck because you can't really clean between those tight bristles.
Yeah.
So what I like to use is I use pink soap. And I put it in my hand, and what I do is I gently, after like when I'm done, and I usually only do this like once a month or so, right? If you want to get really clean about it, you can do it like after every paint session. Some people like to put like balm. I know that like Artist Opus has like a lot of really nice balms for brushes and brush care, so you keep a nice tip on it, so you can use those size 2s and 3s for getting really fine detail. But what I do is I just put a little palm of it in my hand, then I'll just roll my brushes around very gently and just massage that ferrule to see if there's anything in there and to clean it out. And to also, while you're doing that, you can also often see that there's like small chunks that'll come out. And those are just like those caps that you have of just paint that you've forgotten about. And I'll do that a couple times until there's stuff out of the brush. That particular one that I use is also a conditioner. So once that's done and it's fully clean, I got all the paint out of it, I'll often lick the brush into a nice fine tip, put it back in its sheath, and put it away. Yeah, I like my brushes. I'm not sorry about it.
Yeah, that was a point of contention because I know I've heard people talk about like to not like I do it too. I find it very easy. Just actually, funnily enough, someone at the GW shop, the guy that runs it, showed me that way, and I've never not done it differently. And I find that's the easiest way to get a point for me. I mean, honestly.
No, it's honestly the easiest way to get a point. If I'm running out of like water in my ferrule, and I'll just put some on my hand and I'll just like lick it and go for it from there. Standard disclaimer, metallics and white paints just can have toxic things in them sometimes. Do be careful about what you're putting in your mouth. But it really does help you get a nice fine tip on your brush. It also helps with liquid and water control, which is your biggest friend and ally and enemy when it comes to
everything's giving you cancer anyway. Who cares? I mean, it's just
Yeah. Won't lick their brush, but drinks Diet Coke.
right.
Precisely.
Well, let's talk about some models. I mean, we brought in a lot of models here to kind of talk about.
Yeah.
I tried to bring some from like most of my teams, but also just like, I wasn't going to bring in like my earliest models, but then I was like, yeah, it seems like good to kind of start from where you came from. And I was looking at like my Burna Boy.
Okay.
And I mean, I think that my early models all looked pretty good.
Yeah, I was start with early models.
Yeah, let's start doing.
I was really happy with like how my early models came out. I was so happy.
I have the test scheme one.
This
is the first one you painted for the
that was
newest
the
team.
test scheme one, and that one actually has edge highlights on it.
And I'll pass this one around too. So I have one of my older Eldar models, my Bone Singer.
For sure. And this is mostly base paint, Mark?
So yeah, I mean that one I didn't like airbrush, but I did like a zenithal, and then like it's pretty much all like Vallejo game color.
Okay, I was going to ask what paint you were using. Yeah,
and
Vallejo's great.
I ended up just like slapping a bunch of agrax on it, and it, I think it looks great. But I also like,
for sure.
This was before I realized how much Lamian medium just like absolutely.
Oh my god,
rips.
life
so
changer!
Good.
It's absolute life changer.
I imagine the orc skin would look a little bit more like tight if I was using that. I mean, the face, the way I drew the flames on the face is like cringe when I look at it now. But I like how the flames like came out on like the thing itself, and
they did for sure. I think something. Yeah, as I reach, thank you. And the same peasant day too.
Yeah.
As the fire thing there on the physical mask itself, I think that honestly is a really easy, just like blush, like you can do a contrast paint blend, or even just with a base paint, just literally wipe your thumb over it and kind of get rid of that like line in between them as they like kind of mix and blend together. That's a lot easier than people think it is to get flames right. Particularly with the one you're looking at, Dae, right now. That was kind of because I actually hadn't painted like Caliban green in that style before. So like I was just trying to make sure like everything was just like solid, smooth, and whatever. Because each like I usually use GW stuff paint wise, and each of them are just like kind of a crapshoot in terms of like consistency and like
they're so very different.
In terms of like what is the right amount of water to thin for them. Yeah. So like for example, their skin tones, particularly like their Caucasian tones, I find very hard to get right between like just smooth enough to like not be clumpy and just like.
So that's going to have to do a lot with like the actual nature of like white pigment and like lighter pigments. They're just a lot harder to work with that regard.
But the thing, I usually don't have issues with their Corax. Their Corax white, I maybe I've just used enough Corax white to just like get a good thing on it. But
it's an entirely just a random chance lottery whether your Corax white is actually like really good and work with, and like or it comes like already pre-dried and fucked in the bottle. Like
I did not know that, so I must have gotten a good couple of bottles.
Yeah, it's also it's that, or it's like sometimes like it depends with that one. I mean, I can give you guys some feedback
Please,
on these.
feel free.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I can see like the washes you're talking about, and I can see like where you hit these with dry brushes. I will say, I think you did a really good job. We'll give some nice compliment sandwich here. You did a really, I think you did a really good job with the dry brushing on his backpack. You managed to make these look like edge highlights just from the direction that you were able to dry brush, which is a really nice thing to do. For those that are aware, you can dry brushing, you can just kind of smash it around the top, sure. But if you just gently pull your brush in the same direction, you can basically mimic edge highlighting to great effect. So I see a lot of that here. I see like early attempts for like the blending on the masks, and I do like how you got some of the blending on the flames. I think that's a good one. I think feedback for this one is I see it looks like you almost tried to wet blend on the mask, but the issue that you had where you have some of that primer showing on the bottom of it is just because you probably used too much water on your brush there. So if you have water on your brush and the paint's not fully set, I think the easiest way you see this is in like watercolor. It will just suction the paint back up. So I think you could have just used a little bit extra pigment there or waited for it to dry a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think that absolutely. I think that I ended up like painting it while it was still wet, and that's kind of how I got off the lines.
Yeah. Outside of that, I mean, honestly, if this is just like for like a large, like, so there's different different like levels of painting, right? When it comes to this, like this is entirely like good for if I'm just seeing somebody at a table for like a 40K model, right?
Yeah.
Think about it. Like it's the 3-foot rule, right? If I'm passing by, am I actually going to see something? Is it going to catch my eye? Is that enough? And often it is. So like he's a very functional orc boy. He's good.
Yeah.
And I think he's a good start for a first try.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of the things that I realized with my first models or like my first kill team was the Orc Commandos. And I was very much like, I'm just going to paint it like it is on the box, right? Seems like a very easy thing to do.
Oh no, heavy metal's so rough. The box. That's the typical name for like the GW box painting style. Yeah. It's a very deceptively
specific.
Very deceptively simple.
The thing that I was thinking about is it was like, oh, they're just going to be like junkyard orcs. But it's like I'm painting so many different colors on the clothes. And like since I've been like, oh, well, everyone's pretty much just going to wear the same color of clothes. It's just made everything so much easier.
Oh my God.
Fair. Yeah. There's no like batch painting and stuff like that. It saves a lot of time and can be really gratifying. And like you don't have to worry about your paints drying out in between every single one.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want like their uniforms to be the thing that really like catches your eye with the team. Usually it's another detail that I'm really focusing on.
Yeah. And then this one over here. So I think it's a really nice solid like layer that you have just around the green of the model right here. I think you did a good job catching it. The details in there, I think the eye lenses are nice. I think that the sword, that's a sword. The sword on the head's solid. I think you also managed to stay pretty good in the lines on the black, so for his straps and for his carapace. I can see a couple places where you missed right there. And I'm going to take a guess and say you attempted edge highlighting, but maybe gave up and did some dry brushing.
It's dry brushed. Like I said,
okay.
I was trying to see if I can do it with the, I think it was like warpstone and then the heavier on warpstone. And then much lighter on like I think a moot green I think is the light one. Because I haven't actually like done the dry brushing technique on the Marines and I was trying it out. I'm gonna go back and just do edge highlighting and all that stuff because I think on Marines it's just unfortunately just the way that they're shaped. It's not necessarily the best technique. So I think just edge highlighting like by hand makes them pop a lot more and they'll look a lot better when I do that.
Yeah, I think you could definitely get away still with the dry brushing. It's not bad. It's once again kind of similar to yours. It definitely looks like you did some edge highlighting here. You can make them kind of similar. But I think what you need something that you could work on with that edge highlighting is that it looks a little chalky, right? And so typically when you have edge highlighting that looks chalky, it just means that dry brushing is deceptive, right? It's not actually really, the brush shouldn't really be fully dry. It should be still a little bit wet. So like you need to, now don't go dunk your dry brush bristles in the water. That's a one-way trip to fuck your brush up. But no, you can definitely I think that might help you here. And it also might help you get a little bit more pigment on there to make areas of him pop. So if you just keep it a little bit wetter, and I can show you a couple tutorials too afterwards, and that might help for those.
One thing I really like about this one, Joe, is that you do a really great job of blending your model with the base.
Yeah,
you got that nice, like just a little bit of dust there on
you.
the boots that really kind of sells it.
Yeah, like I said, I've been using that scheme forever. It's because I just have it locked down and it makes it real simple. I know I always try to kind of get the actual like terrain paint like on the actual boots. Because what people will often do is like make the boot itself actually like very clean and do the dry brush and then it not be on the boots. But like you're in mud and dust, it's gonna be on the boots.
Yeah,
like look like they're actually stepping in the. You know what I mean?
Well, so that's actually an interesting one that I've heard before. So Mark French, I know you guys have had on the show previously, really doesn't like his bases matching his models at all. He specifically doesn't do that for lore reasons because he imagines that his Tau armies, for example, are going different places. He doesn't want them to be native to there. He wants them to stand out for the bases. So like to some ideas, yeah, like for lore reasons, if they're like grime and they've been fighting there for like 2 weeks, yeah, keep them there. Or for sometimes like some of my guys, I'm like, I kind of want them to be different. Like I want the base to not look like it's melding with them so it can be a nice contrast to highlight the model. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and like when I looked at your first model day, I mean, I think
there is no base. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, that's not the point. I think the thing that really stands out to me here is you do one of the things that I really like with Eldari models is you just really get in all those little tiny details. And I feel like maybe I'm wrong here, but you got like a little bit of like gloss on it to really kind of make those like red bits pop.
Actually, I think that's just the fact that it's pewter.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure that's just a base coat with that there. Although I do have like some metallics on there, but no, I'm flattered, but no.
Do we want to show and tell like our best models now?
Sure, yeah.
Sure, yeah. This is the one where I felt like I got the scheme down and it's probably the cleanest looking, I think. I haven't done any edge highlighting on here with the intention of going back to do it, just because I wanted to get so like this team, like because when I do commission painting, I give people 2 levels worth. Basically, what the GW calls battle ready, and then parade ready, which is I'm going back in edge highlighting, going to get particular details out that like need like more edge highlighting and stuff like that. And this I think is just a really solid battle ready model. Just elevated by a little bit of extra contrast paint, which is my assault sergeant with the power sword.
Which I can already see from here. I like how the power sword pops before it's not even in my hands; it's in the middle of the table.
And
like,
literally all
and
that.
That's what I'm saying. Like the 3-foot rule man, I can already see it from far away. I like the way his tabard looks. I like his sword. Like it's nice.
And the funny thing is, literally all the sword is just 2 coats of white, achromatic blue. That's it. And it really is sometimes that simple. And I plan on going back on that sword too and doing like my lightning technique that I do with like Night Lords and stuff like that to just make it look more electric and whatever. Sometimes like I just play around with stuff, and that was one of the ones I just fell on. That achromatic blue just looks really good on a bright white. It's literally what the contrast is for. So was really happy with that. And the quill on him I think looks the cleanest too, because I was trying to figure out. Dark Angels have a very specific looking aquila on their chest. It's like a skeleton-y horde type of look.
Bone white, yeah.
Yeah, bone white. Ushabti bone is usually the best one for that, but it's not quite dark enough. So what I did is I think I threw thinned down with like a contrast medium skeleton horde to give it that brownish effect that like it really gives off. And I think it looks the best on there.
Well, the first thing that stands out to me is the cream color is just perfect. It's flawless. And I've had such a problem with getting like whites and like creams in kind of the consistency and density that I like.
Oh, it took me a long time to figure out some of the cream colors, because in the GW line it's very hard to find a happy medium on them. And just painting all of the tabards and hoods on these guys is when I kind of like really figured it out. Which is interesting when I show you guys the Death Wing model, because I did such a different thing for him.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. Really quick.
So this is the bony color. It looks more chalky, and I know it comes off more chalky, but I wanted it to look more dingy. So what I basically did is I believe I did like the Ushabti bone on top, and then skeleton horde on top of it again, and then went back with the Ushabti to basically do the thing of like edge highlighting without edge highlighting and give it that dingy, dirty look.
Yeah.
But also still reflects the Deathwing color scheme, which is that color scheme. So I like the way that one turned out. It's very different from the rest of the models. And it stands out when I put him on the table just because he's white as opposed to the dark green.
I like that at the bottom of his tabard too is a little bit muddy. That.
I think the metallics blend really well on that model too.
Yeah.
Again, like sometimes when I'm working with metallic paints, it feels like it kind of just sticks out like a sore thumb.
Oh yeah,
it can. It very much can.
It very much can. Yeah. And like I said, Deathwing is such a unique color scheme among Space Marines. It almost in some ways just doesn't match aesthetically, but it's like it's what it is. It's the bone white with the gold and the red and the opposite green, and yeah, it's a fun looking model. And and mine is not the heavy intercessor that's usually used. It's the one that a lot of people substitute out for that team. It's the Stern Guard, the heavy bolter. So yeah, fun model. Had a fun time painting it.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think just from a raw paint style, like paint wise, I think that you did a better job. This one right here, your leader is cleaner. Just looking at the two of them, I can see a couple bits of overpaint on these and places where it's clear on the back. No one's looking at that except for me in high detail right now. Right? I can see where there's I'm not as worried about it, but I like the color. Did you do sub-assembly for his tabard?
I didn't know. I'm so bad at that. I need to. I just. Some people just slap their models together and just paint, and that's what I usually do. And I need to start doing sub-assembly because I get so frustrated. I'll give you another good example. So on my Interrogator Chaplain, right, this model was such a pain in the ass to do because I actually bought that model secondhand and it was already assembled. So I did a little bit of a hobby rescue with that one, and getting under those fucking capes is such a pain, even with longer brushes.
All of the Mechanicus cloaks.
Oh my God, yes. So I'm happy with the model. I'm pretty sure I got every visible area on the cloak. That was such a struggle to get all of those bits. But yeah, I'm happy with the, and once again, very different looking from the rest of the models. The interior.
I think that's what I do like
Yeah.
about the team that you have in front of you is that each of them, while they are, there's a lot of union between them, used to the same colors, the actual physical placement of them on different spots of the model does make them look individualistic, which is what you're looking for from a kill team, right? Like each one should have its own
Space
model.
Marines, it very much individualize their, as much as they're like conformists.
They're
right, by
obviously
nature.
brothers, but they're all their own people.
Exactly. And that's exactly, I'm looking for character on the models.
I'm looking for crayon Marines, actually.
Yes, exactly. Right. You know, I mean, it's funny you say that with the release of Space Marine 2, people unironically do the crayon Marines.
I love the
thing.
crayon Marines. Okay.
It's great. But yeah, that's kind of my Angels of Death, and I'm happy with them. So,
I think they're looking stellar, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you. Like I said, I was really happy with the stroke of genius I had on this one. Like, because the funny thing about the Dark Angels is they have so much lore that all of their captains are named. So all of them are characters in books. So I was like, well, that's lame. I can't just do a character on a kill team. Let me just do interrogator chaplains because they're a unique unit that exists within the Dark Angels. And that's just something I love doing with models. Even when I do commissions, like I love talking to my like I love Scott, but he's like very non-committal on a lot of his like models. And
Are you doing some commissions for him right now?
I'm doing he's so people are gonna be with the lore of this. So he wants the original Thousand Sun scheme. Okay. But as far as people, I mean, if people you know anything about the Thousand Suns, there are no non-psyker Space Marines on Thousand Suns alive.
And then they're just rubrics.
That are just rubrics. So I was like, all right, I can do this for you. But like, I'm just letting you know, like, that's just the lore of it, right? But, you know. But they actually, more funnily enough, are you familiar with Crimson Slaughter? So Crimson Slaughter was an old Space Marine Legion. I think they were like the main bad guys in like 4th or 5th edition. They look strikingly like those, which is kind of funny. But yeah.
Interesting.
So I'm having a hard time picking my best model.
Give them all to us.
So yeah, like I think
I do love these. Like when these come, so the base on these. First off, once again,
great.
Really love the base on there. I think it's a great contrast.
I think that one of my Hulks for the Gellerpox has got to be one of my best models. I think my favorites. Oh, they're just all so fucking sick. I love them so much. I really like the Flesh Screamer a lot. The things that I really like about this model, I feel what I wanted to do with this team was I was like, I didn't want them to just all be nurgly dudes.
Yeah.
So I tried to pick which, like, if one of them was going to be a nurgly guy, it would be the Lumberghast because he's got the bug on him. But like between the rest of them, who is going to be like attributed to which chaos god? And so, the Flesh Screamer, he's probably the most Zinchi. Volgar's probably the most corny because of like the flames and like the tech integration, and then obviously like the freaky whip arm dude.
Which, funnily enough, it's funny you mentioned that because like from like a lore perspective, it is a Nurgle team. Like they are just Nurgle. Like that is the lore of the team. But I do find it interesting. One of my favorite things people do with models is like taking a reinterpretation of their lore and just like expressing that through the paint.
I pointed at my Adeptus Mechanicus models that we have here on the team that are all neon green because the idea behind Vanguards is that they're radioactive. So.
Exactly. It's great. Like, for example, one of the things I really would love to do with a Mandrake's team one day is make them the 9 ring wraiths. Because that would be pretty cool. Really fits perfect for the lore of the team. And also you'd actually be able to tell the difference between the models if I did them that way. So
first off, like looking at this model, I think I'm going to say you airbrushed the skin and it's so smooth. I love that you did a really good job with the directional like under highlighting on him.
Yeah.
I think that was, it's so nice. I think you caught all like the ridges on him and it's just buttery smooth.
That was one of the big reasons why I was like, the idea of him being Zinchi, I was like, I still want them to be kind of like gross and nurgly. So
he's gross and nurgly, but
everybody's
he's also
got like that base coat. So like the Flesh Screamer has like this, nice blue undercoat, and then I did like a gradient to sort of that nurgling green, Death Guard green on top, and it's the same for everybody, right? So like the Bloat Spawn's got that purple underneath and goes to more of like that lighter green on top. But I do think that the gradient came out especially well on the Flesh Screamer.
And did you do like the glaze I'm seeing on his tongue here? Like, did you put something on that, or is that just like the wash that you have in the mouth?
Yeah, so I experimented with, somebody was telling me that like if you just take a little bit of gloss varnish and just brush it on those details that you really want to look wet, they'll just look wet.
Yep.
So I did that for like the tongues, the mouths, and then
the
like
pustules.
The pustules, those little yellow pustules all over.
I also see that you went back over some of like your metallics here and did some extra like bronzing on them on the back. So like those kinds of small details that like who in their right mind is really going to look at this tiny polka that you have here on the back that it's like, oh, it also has some bronze. Like those are the kinds of things like if you're ever going into shows, like those small like niche things
Absolutely.
always elevate you.
Now, I guess here's a question for both of you. Have either of you won painting contests for your kill teams?
I have, yeah. I've one of the tournaments we went to, I've won one or two of them just for my AdMech. So
I came in like third or fourth place with a team. I think it was actually my Orc Commanders. I think I came in like third or fourth place, but the top contestants in the painting competition won other prizes for their performance in the tournament. So I was I went home with the prize, although I was not actually the best painter.
I just always assume that whenever I'm going to a tournament with Mark French, I'm not winning that painting contest.
See, Mark French and I have an understanding. He doesn't want me in his painting contests. He has directly told me as such. But even then, he puts a lot of effort into his paints. So like where he probably spends like double or triple the amount of time I do. But he does excellent work. And frankly, all of his like basing and like how it interacts, like he has like glowing eyes in his models. I'm not doing that. And he will beat me in every contest through sheer force of will. That man will, which is I'm okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think of our local painters, I think he might be in my top two. Close second being Trevor. I don't know if you've seen any of Trevor's models, Dae, but he, man, oh man, he hasn't been around lately, but his Space Marines are clean, and he did these water bases on his scouts that just it looks like cresting water. It's wild. Have you seen them?
Yeah, I was about to say, I remember being absolutely floored when I saw not only like he's got a diorama, but just like the bases with just like the
clean,
the crested, not even like crested wave. It's just like the water breaking on the breach. It's it's absolutely immaculate.
Another shout, Chris in our community. He paints immaculate Space Marines. Some of his commanders are my favorite commanders I've ever seen.
When I think about Chris's particular painting style, like what is his style? It is clean and it's crisp.
Yes,
absolutely. Like you look at his.
I assume you've seen his models, yeah, because
probably.
You look at Chris's models and like his Death Guard are just like so gross and disgusting, but absolutely flawless at the same time.
I'm mad I didn't bring some of my parade style stuff because now I feel like I'm not showing off my best work, but yeah, I think one of the most interesting things for me, like regarding like, especially like when you're sitting down painting a team is like how much effort you want to put in, right? And I think it's like how
that's very much a thing that I
directly correlates.
Have to decide every single time I sit down.
Like for example, your crew. I remember when I first saw your crew, and how spectacular they look. And also I remember even on looking at another painted crew team, David in our community painted them in a very different style. But I just love how certain models, like Kroot, for example, there's so much room for self-expression.
Oh man, the Tau like auxiliary factions, like the Kroot and the Vespids, like I don't know who at GW is putting out all of those models, but like they're eating good. Like I don't know who's doing them.
There is a Tau lover somewhere deep in the design film of like, hey, can I do this every 1 or 2 years? And when they do it, the Kroot, they knocked it out of the park. Vespas, they knocked out of the park.
George isn't here, so I do have to honor his memory. George also has won a painting competition. At a game. Oh, I kid you not.
I remember.
Yeah. So just because he's not here, we have to let the people know.
He also won a painting contest as a joke. That was also a fun one we didn't try at.
Yeah, we did both.
One that he legitimately won, and one that he. Yeah. Oh man, every time I look at these Kroot models, they look like the Raptors from. Or like Raptors you'd see like in like those old dinosaur books you had like growing up, and it's just they're beautifully blended with an orange and red at like those sensory whatever we call them
frills is what I
frills
at
their head just looks so gorgeous.
I'm gonna jump back over to Mark for a second before we go dive into.
Yeah, we got to talk about these Kroot, but what else do you have to say?
Yeah, no, I wanted to say I really enjoy some of the items that you have here. I have no idea what this.
That's Volgrar.
Volgrar.
Thrice cursed.
Yes, that is literally his name.
I love that for him. I really am enjoying like the belly flames that you got here. That's a lot of like brush control that I'm seeing from just you as an artist.
I love looking at that compared to the flame from my Flame-A-Boy.
Yeah, this is like a clear improvement in skill.
Yeah, I actually looked at what flames look like, and I realized that the lighter color goes more towards the center, not towards the tip.
A common misconception.
And fun thing, I just noticed too, because I think our preferences for teams are showing. I don't think any of you have a human face over there.
I do actually. I have a couple of them. I wanted to talk a little bit. If we wanted to talk about flesh tones.
I mean, we've got some ab humans. Like one of the reasons I put forth
These
one of
both
my
have faces.
Yeah, because I was looking because I was like trying to see like the detail.
So
work on
he
y'all's.
has some fantasy skin tone. So they're looking at a Vanguard right now that has half of his head out, keeping it that nice kind of purpley cream color. So he looks nice and sickly and ill, as all Skitarii should.
Awesome.
And then I also have some of my D&D models that I have here.
Hell yeah.
Some librarian models here that I purchased off of Etsy because all things come from Etsy.
And I'll grab one of my guys with faces here.
Yeah, I have a couple more other ones with faces at home. So
yeah, this is like full face that I painted, and then let's see. I try to keep it simple with faces.
full frontal face.
Full frontal face, yes.
Yeah.
I try to keep it simple with faces and stuff like that. Just because I don't think I'm particularly great at painting them. So I'm better at other times.
So like with my salvagers, the reason that team took me so long is because I really was trying to grind out faces and like learn how to do them. And I went through a lot of I threw out a lot of faces before I finally got some that were like
you gotta practice, man. That was for me.
I mean, honestly, so yeah, your face over here, like it's really nice and smooth. I can see where you have a couple of lowlights here. You probably did a wash and then just kind of came back up over it with yours.
Yeah, exactly.
Yours, I'd say the only thing, like the difference between like his is far more Mark's is far more legible than what I'm looking here from Joe, but Joe's isn't bad either. Like there's a lot of helps that the sculpt is just doing naturally for you with your wash. You really just could have gone back over it with like another like higher level skin tone and just amp that up.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm gonna do when
just
I go
remember
back.
like whenever it comes to faces, and I think this comes to a lot of things when it comes to painting, heads are circles. Paint them like a circle with a triangle smashed in the middle. It has some smaller circles that are cut out in it. Those are your eyes. Think of everything like those basic shapes. And also just remember your like source lighting for a lot of these items. If you're looking for more traditional like 90s items, like go for the edge highlighting, go for everything kind of coming in. Like there's tons of different styles of lighting. Faces, if you're looking for more realistic ones though, typically always fall into more realism. Like that's what people usually are looking for when they're looking for faces.
Usually my thing that I do with faces is that like on that, and I need to go back and do it, is the whatever the base paint, and then I think Reichland Fleshly is usually what I use for Caucasian faces, and then just go back and highlight with like a flesh tone, and then painting eyes is so tedious for me. Like for scouts, I did it just because scouts is like everyone's face is exposed. It's a key part of the team.
Yeah, eyes
so I
wide
spent
open.
the time, literally. So I spent much more time on that. And like I said, I'm mad I didn't bring one of my scouts, but
I think we got to take some time now and really talk about some of these masterpieces in front of us. Dave has brought some of her Croots. Speaking of 90s stuff, you were inspired by 90s ski jackets for a lot of this.
And I really like a lot of traditional like Warhammers, like the 90s, early 90s, thousands color pops, like bright oranges, yellows, stuff like those are fun.
It's crazy.
The freehand on these is absolutely
It looks like
stunning.
they look like vaqueros. Like old Mexican gunslingers, like just straight up.
Yeah, just like the perfect poncho.
Oh my god!
Like the one with the jazz pattern just sends me every time. It's incredible.
No, thank you.
The thing that I hadn't noticed about these is how insane the bases are with all of this like rusted scrap metal layered on with like the mud and the tufts too. Like that is so cool.
I don't know where the bird is.
Birdman, Harvey Birdman.
Yeah,
He's over
Bird's
here.
right there.
That one I'm actually particularly pleased with that base because if you look at the foot, I even put like water in the feet for that one.
Oh yeah.
So it's like water in the tracking foot because I was like, this is a natural little puddle. This seems like a fun thing to look at. So for these particular models, typically I will actually paint. I will build the model and the bases like at the same time separately kind of thing. Like before I actually do any of my painting, I outline the model, I put everything on here, and then I prime it all at the same time. Because you can see like he is standing on a piece of the terrain, right?
Yeah.
Looking at one of my snub arquebuses here. Or like for him right here, it was going to be impossible for me to do any of the painting and modeling if I didn't do that first for any of these Necrons here.
So what you're saying is you do bases like a sub-assembly, basically. Like you have your model on it so you can prime it with the base at the same time, but then you would like not adhere it with like plastic glue to the base.
No, I usually do it all at the same time. I'll usually do that for the feet at the same time so that I can either blend it into the environment is typically what I do for a lot of mine, similar to how Joe does with his. I do keep them all together at the same time. Or if I have extra bases over and I know I'm going to make more of the models later, I'll make all my bases at the exact same time so they just look uniform. But
this is just
yeah, a friendly a note. Some things that I think that are some helpful items for bases. Is I always like if I have any kind of grass tufts that I use, I can have a tiny little pair of scissors in my craft supply. I never use a full tuft. I rip them, tear them, take them tiny shreds so that there's only like little smaller tufts because I think that fits better with a 28 and like 32 millimeter style. And then have a bunch of I've been slowly hoarding a variety of like fun colors and like other things for like grasses. Like I love your pink and purple grass. I have so many like bright neon grasses that I think are really fun and I haven't found a project for. So like that inspires me, frankly.
Yeah, I painted all just on cloaks. I just passed over my eliminator to Mark. I painted a lot of camo cloaks because I had to, my necessity of just.
Oh yeah, that freehand's really nice too.
Yeah, man, let me tell you, most tedious process of doing that it's worth it though. For camo cloaks in particular, I think it
looks great.
Such a highlight on the model that you kind of have to.
Oh, for sure. And it's also just always so tempting whenever like that's one of the things about the crew too here, right? Like it's so tempting when you have that much free real estate to just not do something in freehand, at least for me personally.
Absolutely.
I've had some mechanics, a huge like dune crawler that I have coming up that I'll be painting in my queue. And I'm just trying to figure out what the heck do I put on the side of my giant like Mechanicus model. Like I'm going to paint something in freehand. This is just too good not to.
Do you use much in the way of transfers?
I actually don't.
I noticed that.
I paint all my what I would normally transfer. I freehand all of it usually.
I mean, you see, for me, having something physical to paint on the model is usually my preference. I don't like using the transfers either. If I can get like for Space Marines, if I can get their chapter symbol on a physical shoulder pad, I will.
I think I have a few that have like the Sakatari numbers on them, but I found out quickly I did not like them.
One of the like I've done a few transfers mostly on like weapons, and I've done some as like something that I'm putting on like a screen that an operative's looking at. And I feel like what I just end up doing is just doing a dry brush like over it, and it just kind of blends it into the gun that way. And I've tried using some of like the plain mediums that kind of smooth it out, and I've gotten like mixed results with it. But overall, I'm just like so bad with like teeny tiny pieces, and that's kind of been the deterrent for me from doing more of those transfers, right?
I would say a really good trick for transfers, similar to like your gel that you have for keeping your guys wet. If you want to have them blend in there, just use the same matte finish or like varnish or whatever kind of finish that you would normally use for the rest of the model over those transfers, and it'll usually help blend them in as well.
I think we've got to do like let me ask you, Dae.
Yeah.
Which of the models that you've brought here are you most proud of? Because they're all insane.
I think I'm actually most proud of him. So
we're looking at the Technomancer?
Cryptek.
They're all Cryptex. Which one is it? It's the Techno, isn't it?
No, that's not the Technomancer. Actually, it should be the Technomancer.
It is, yeah. Because he's on the big base.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
I'm not even looking at it. I can tell it's immaculate.
I like this so much for a lot of different reasons. One, I'm looking at painting some Necrons too, and I like this blue you've chosen.
Oh, thank you.
Because kind of like the color palette that I have in my mind for it is I want to do kind of like bronze with like that light blue, and then maybe like an orange or like maybe some pink in there for kind of like an American Southwest color palette. And so to see that on the model, I'm just like, oh my gosh, yeah, like that
blue does work. Yeah,
that it goes well with the brass.
Yeah,
and that I mean they look very Egyptian, and like
so these are the Nylok dynasty. I painted them after that. I knew that's my favorite dynasty when it comes to to Necrons. So I did paint them with that.
Isn't that one of the painters made that faction? Isn't that what
I have no idea.
I forgot. I remember that anyway.
I'm not sure what's more impressive is this absolutely incredible gradient on the little like back tassels.
Looks great.
Or this crazy sort of like refraction of light on the blade.
Oh God, yeah. I'm gonna see if I can pull up because now I'm getting frustrated because I want to show some of my best. If I can actually pull up, and it's just spectacular. I mean, the metallics on there are smooth as butter.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will say one of my favorite metallics for anyone listening is I like the if you're willing to gas yourself out a little bit, the alcohol based metallics from Vallejo. I paint them. I have my own alcohol dedicated brushes where you basically will just use isopropyl to thin it like you would do any other paint. They do dry out a good bit quicker, so you have to work with them very quickly. But one or two very thin coats of those gives you just a immaculate full coverage paint color on it. So But if you spill it on yourself, like I have, it's very hard to get out of your clothes.
Yeah, it's I mean, I think once again we touched on the bases. I mean, the base just looks great. I mean, it stands out in particular because it's so bright compared to like even some of like the darker colors on here, and even like the blending on like the actual staff itself, and just all the particular details you picked out. Because I think people have a tendency on Necron models to just kind of like overlook the smaller details because they can be so simple as models.
Yeah.
And you've just not done that, and it looks spectacular for it. So I mean, just looks great.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm seeing, and this is just because basing is so interesting to me, and one of the things I love the most about doing models is I'm seeing yours, and it's almost generating this idea of one of the things that makes great painting so good is layering, right? Like you're layering these colors on to get these gradients and these color effects. And that's really what you've done with these bases too, is you're just layering all these elements on. Like I look at my bases and I've done like, you know, like the bases on my mandrakes, I've got like colors to shine through, like the crackles and the black. And I love bits and bobbles, but the way that you've layered the bits and bobbles on top, like you've got these little tiny leaves on top of the scrap metal, on top of the mud, it's really making just the whole model feel like it's in 3 dimensions in a way that, like, when I look at my bases, none of them feel quite like that.
So I'll disagree with you on that one. So I think the things that I do in my bases is I try to make them both harmonious and stand out.
Yeah.
So I'll pull up my Crute here, and I'll pull up, you'll see it. I've done it across actually all 3 of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've done something very similar here with yours without obviously noticing it. Your guy is here is like nice and purple, and you have this deep red base that's a wonderful contrast to it. And you pull in that red right here in his pustules. And you also pull in those colors with the grass. So if you look at my guys over here, right? Well, actually, we'll go ahead and pull up the Psychomancer. Similarly, I have him have like these nice pops of blue, and I have these blue crystals down here at the bottom. So I've made it more homogeneous. Or for him right here, because I did each one of them kind of a theme. So he does like geomancy, so all of his things are rocks. He does psycho, and he has crystals. He's, has all techno, so he has a little like canoptic spiders running around him. So similarly, like I've tied in those colors to the base while also being different. And if you look at the Crute, the little leaves are going to be orange. The head is orange. So it tries to pull in at least one of the primary colors that I have as part of the model to make it homogeneous. Same thing here. I have that nice yellow that matches the yellow on the cloaks.
Yeah.
So trying to almost, similar to what you're saying, tell a story, but keep at least one pop that ties in the 2 of them for visual effects, while also, this is bright white. I want the focus to be up here on the model, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think of all of these as the closest that I actually finished, and I actually just remembered. This one, I think, actually like has a good chunk of the highlights I want. I would say that was like 90% done to like what I call my parade style. It's like the cleanest that I have on there too, and it also is the base is mostly finished on that too. And it's just I think Space Marines, the way you make them pop is with the highlights, because they can come up a very flat with the green and stuff like that, and you can kind of see how I started to do that on that one.
Basing helps a lot too for
yeah.
Marines.
Yes.
But going back to what I was saying for your particular one here, I think you have unknowingly done this, and I think that
This
that's
idea
one
of blending the base with the model in a way that's not just getting a little bit of dust on the feet, but really kind of blending the color palette together while also like not trying to just like make it all the same color.
Correct. Yeah. I think you've done a really excellent job on that base, even without noticing. Like these, I think that's one of the reasons my eye is easily drawn to all of your Hulks is for that exact reason.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool to hear that like I'm getting the kinds of effects that I want for my bases, but also, I mean, this is just awesome. This is like very inspiring in the way that I'm kind of like thinking about how I want to start doing things differently now. We've been talking about stuff that people can't see for at least like a half hour, 45 minutes. Rest assured, folks at home, we are going to include as many pictures of the models that we're talking about today in the show notes. I think that we should probably give the folks who have stuck around this long a little something to chew on. So I think we can look at all of our models here and even see just like over the course of a single project or over your career as a painter, just like how you're able to improve. What are like, do you have any of those like big tips or like something that really clicked with you and like a piece of advice or something you saw online that really helped you become a better painter,
It's a beta painter. No, it's okay. No,
But
I think the biggest advice that I have for anybody is just keep painting. I know it sounds like really basic, silly advice, but brush control doesn't really come overnight. Painting inside the lines is not always the easiest thing to do.
Thinning your paints, learning how to get that consistency
Learning
takes
how to
forever.
get consistency takes forever. So I think the first one is just keep painting. It will come with time. Always keep challenging yourself. Like I said, with each one of my projects, I always pick out one new skill that I want to have. And I think on a more technical side, either pick out colors that have fun color theory or just have good consistency with your paints. Breadgrass, the paint palette that they have, like their paint mat, has a really nice little like ratio from paints to water for just thinning. You don't have to have all these fancy mediums for paints to work. You can actually use craft paint to find effect. We have a couple people at the store that I'm like, what do you mean you painted this with like Apple craft paint? This is upsetting. So yeah, keep painting, thin your paints, and outside of that, use fun colors that are inspiring to you and your projects.
What about you, Joe? Was there any like big tip that really stuck with you and you feel helped kind of propel your painting forward?
Honestly, it's finding your style and like what works best for you and stuff like that. For me in particular, I think a lot of it was just like getting wrapped up in like the particular lore of a model kind of really drew me into painting itself. And I mean, to steal Dae's advice, I mean, really the only way you're gonna get better is if you keep doing it. Have a lot of test models around.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like extra models you're not using, just have them lying around. Just be like, I haven't painted a model in a while. Let me sit down and just like mess around with this. Because if you're not going to use the model anyway, it's a fantastic palette for you to work on and just
or
try
your terrain.
stuff.
Your terrain can even just be a nice big broad surface. You're like, well, I don't know if these two colors go together. Do they actually mix? Answer yes. Answer maybe no.
I think what often gets suggested to like newer painters is like, particularly if you're doing GW stuff, is jump right into contrast. Don't do that. Don't do that because it is actually significantly harder to do contrast than people make it appear. I mean,
it also doesn't give you a lot of the skills that you need to level up your painting.
Correct. And contrast is a great tool. And if you're just doing a zenithal and slapping some paint on there, fine, perfect, great. But if you actually want to make the contrast like look good, I think takes skill and learning how to paint, and it only comes with time and painting things that are not contrast. So yeah.
I'm gonna give one more other item too. You can start with larger models. I think sometimes like D&D models, like just getting some Etsy ones. Like these were some of the earlier models I painted. It really helps you to practice on a larger surface before narrowing down on a small surface.
Really quick, what would you describe that model as? Because I'm just seeing the face of it now for the first time. I thought it was just like a dragon or like a demon. No, what is that?
It is a kipine. A kipine is a mixture between an owl and like a stag and a wyvern.
Oh,
wow. I mean, like I said, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, that's ill.
And actually, funnily enough, you bring up the D&D stuff. I paint a ton of D&D models. I'm a forever DM, and just painting those like big dragons or like other models really helped me too. So actually, now that you say that, I didn't think about that until you actually had said it. So that's actually a really great suggestion I would recommend to people as well.
For sure. And just, I think the last thing that I was thinking about when I was getting ready for this podcast, like a piece of advice that I saw in a video one time, what they said was, it's like the things that you really want to focus on are the things that really catch your eye. It's like, the weapon, the base, and the face. And I think that that's good, but I also think about it a little bit differently. It's really just, you really want to kind of find out what stands out about a model to you, and you want to, lock in on that. Like when I'm thinking again about like my orc boys that I painted long ago, like if I was going to do them again, it's again, like the clothes, I don't want that to be the thing you're looking at. I want their weapons to be the thing they're looking at.
Absolutely.
Or like, when I'm looking at my Hulks, like what was the thing I wanted you to look at? All their weird arms, all these teeth, the crazy hair. Same thing, and like with my Hearthkin, I was like, I really want the face to be the thing people look at. And when I take them out to play games, I don't get a lot of compliments. Wow, Mark, you played such a great game with those Hearthkin salvagers. But I do get a lot of compliments about Wow, those phases are awesome. And that makes me really happy.
There you go.
Yeah, first of all, I disagree. I think you are both, buddy. You are
I'm a plenty good player, but
You're
man,
an excellent player.
Salvagers are they're a tough team.
Mini yearly goal is to beat Mark in a game at one point. It will happen. I will try.
Yeah, I mean, all of our games have been very close.
That's fair.
So it's bound to happen soon.
And you have not played since Nova.
I have actually. I'm in the league this semester.
Well, I'm saying we haven't played since
Oh,
Nova.
no, you and I have not. This is true.
So we'll see what happens.
Anything that you didn't get a chance to talk about today, Dae, that you want to share with the audience?
Here, I'll shout out the hobby group at Atomic. They hang out every Sunday. Brian does an excellent job working with them. They're pretty much there every week from about noon, sometimes earlier, to 6. So if you're in the Triangle area, coming out, we have plenty of tables and everyone's incredibly friendly. There's some great resources there. Everyone there can give recommendations and some feedback if you're looking to really improve as a hobbyist and as a painter.
Right on. One of my other resolutions for the new year, go to Hobby Hangout. It always seems like a good time.
Come to Hobby Hangout. It's so much fun.
Well, for all of us here at Vox Stream, thanks for hanging out, and we'll catch you next time.
Paint your models.
Thanks. Just keep painting.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Vox Screen. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. Please follow, subscribe, and leave us a review. Any of those things are going to help us grow. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with another episode.